Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today's third video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's third video. So day 10 will take us around the 30th of April, last day of the month. Of course, we'll be able to extend out beyond that, the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. Maybe we'll turn around a couple of weeks. Going to have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, which will take us into the second half of May now. Just about, so I should get on that for you very shortly. Just say about the first video released today was the quick 7 AM upload, just a couple of minute forecast, looking at weather in detail for the next few days, and also the ECM 30-day look ahead, which is actually a 6 week look ahead really, but the EC 30-day forecast has been released as well, so it's on Tuesday, so check out those two videos if you would like to do that. Thank you so much. Everybody, please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, so I saw this on the UK Met Office Twitter feed yesterday, so that's where we'll begin, I think. Met Office saying it's been the coldest start to April since 2013, with mean temperatures widely 2 to 4 degrees below average. Nights have been especially #cold, with frequent overnight #frost. It's also turning into an exceptionally dry month, with some places barely seeing a drop of rain so far. So there is our temperature anomaly for the UK, set against 81 to 2010. So yeah, been a really cold. That's up to 17th of April, by the way. Been a really cold sort of start to April, certainly first half of the month. Of course, we've been monitoring this through the CET, but we can't actually bring you these. It would be nice if we were able to access these anomaly charts for the UK, for UK-wide, and keep an eye on them day by day. But unfortunately, we're not able to do that. We can only show you these when the UK Met tweets them. Regrettably, so for like a day by day sort of look at what temperature's doing, the only thing we really have to work with that is like with the CET, which is updated every single day, Central England temperature. But it would be nice if we'd be able to update these as well, wouldn't it, on a rolling basis? But we can only show you these, as I say, when the UK Met offers us a tweet. So you can see that widely across the country have been like 2 to 4 degrees below average. Some parts of North Scotland have actually been around 4 degrees or more below average. The sort of mildest parts of the country, still colder than average, but at around 1 to 2 degrees below average, being like Northern Ireland, South Wales and southwestern England. But yeah, been a very, very chilly April so far. And look at this, really dry as well. This is our precipitation anomaly up to the 18th of April. Yeah, absolutely incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible how dry it has been in those deep sort of brown colours, which is kind of like 20% or less of average across the vast majority of the country. The wettest place, but still dry of an average, been in the extreme northwest of Scotland. But yeah, extraordinarily dry month and cold. It's almost like 2007. And 2007 and 2011, which were both exceptionally dry Aprils. But the thing with those is they are very warm as well, whereas this has been a much colder version. So it's been a funny old month. Normally when April is this dry, it tends to be warm. But this has been like very dry but cold. So it's been a very strange sort of month so far. Having said all of that, temperatures are beginning to lift up. I have lifted up over the last couple of days. This is the latest temperature observation from XC Weather. So we're already at 16 degrees across many parts of southern England to mid-teens Celsius. There's 2 or 3 more hours worth of warming to go. So I think we'll see temperatures probably reaching around 18 or maybe 19 degrees in the south of the country this afternoon. But it's already going colder again in the north. So Aviemore is just at 6 degrees at the moment. Antahara at 10 degrees. Turret Bridge at 7 degrees. Aboyne at 8 degrees. Aberdeen at 7 degrees. On the Moray Firth, we've just got Lossiemouth at 8 degrees and Kinloss at 6 degrees. So at the moment, although we're getting the odd day here and there that is warmer, we are just unable to sustain proper warm conditions, and colder air is on the way into the north. It's already into the north right now. Most colder temperatures will be spreading southwards for the rest of today, overnight tonight, and for southern England into tomorrow. So if you like the warmth, then enjoy it down in the south, because tomorrow we'll be feeling a lot cooler once again. Having said that, you know, it is the second half of April, so when the sun is out, if the wind is light, it will feel relatively pleasant. But watch out for more significant and, you know, due to the length of the year, potentially very damaging overnight frost, you know, for the northern areas from tonight onwards, and for the rest of the country from tomorrow night onwards. And we are struggling to get rid of these frosts at the moment. But yeah, very interesting month, isn't it? So significantly drier than average. And also cold as well. Really unusual month. As I say, normally when it is as dry as this, as we had it last April to some degree, I think, but also in 2011 and 2007, when it is exceptionally dry, it will normally be quite warm in April. So to have it as cold as this, but also to be very dry, is very unusual sort of combination. But I'm sure it's happened before, and there we go. So we'll just see where things go from here. Right, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for Belfast today. So red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Belfast. We're starting off quite close to average with the upper air temperatures at the moment. They're going to start to lift up a little bit as we go into the weekend and the beginning of next week. So there will be some more milder days and warmer days coming up over the weekend, and in particularly into the early part of next week, I think. But again, not sustained for all that long as we go through next week into the... Oops, that's gone wonky. As we go through next week into the closing days of April and the beginning of May, there's a definite cooling trend again. So temperatures, upper air temperatures are dropping. Surface temperatures are dropping later next week. We're probably going to pull back in northerly winds, and that may carry us through into the bank holiday weekend as well, and that's this period just here through early May, of course. So there is a little bit of a tick up in the temperature taking place over bank holiday weekend, but generally staying on the cold and side. Precipitation-wise, there's going to be a lot of dry weather over the next few days as well, so we continue with this mostly dry sort of theme for the coming days. Into the final days of April and the beginning of May, it is starting to turn more unsettled then, with at the very least some showers appearing, maybe even some longer spells of rain. So the outlook next week looks as though it's colder and also potentially a little bit more unsettled, with some much needed rain perhaps for those parched gardens. Temperature anomaly. So the 20th of April to 28th are colder than average again. So despite like the warmer days that we're having at the moment, despite that, overall the anomaly for the coming week is more or less colder than average across most parts of the UK and most parts of Europe again as well. It's been a very chilly April across much of Europe. Precipitation anomalies remain drier than normal too from the 28th of April. So the scenario that we've had all month continues for the next week, which is colder than average, but also drier than average. Latest wind flow map from knowleschool.net shows that we continue to be sat under high pressure. Notice northerly winds are beginning to return into the north of Scotland. So there we go. We're beginning to pull wind back in from sort of Iceland, Greenland, that kind of area. And so that's the reason temperatures are already falling away in the far north, and those cooler temperatures will be spreading southwards over the next 12 to 24 hours. This is how the UK Met is looking for Friday. So we're under an area of high pressure on Friday. It's happening through most of the month, keeping things mainly dry. By day, it will be pleasant enough. There'll be some sunny spells coming through. By night, expect more damaging overnight frost. Into the weekend, that high pressure sticks around the country. We probably start to pull up something a bit warmer from the continent as well over the weekend. So hopefully over the weekend, we will begin to lose those damaging overnight frosts again. We'll see the temperature lifting up, and that'll be particularly notable by day. Hopefully by Sunday, we might be getting the temperature into the mid to upper teens Celsius once again. But look what happens with this high pressure by the beginning of next week. Yes, that's push off north again, back to Greenland, Iceland. It's almost like it's anchored there, isn't it? Like there's an anchor continuously pulling these high pressures up to Greenland and Iceland. High pressure starts to high pressure starts to scoot up to Greenland and Iceland. Pressures begin to fall across northern and western parts of Europe, so it's beginning to get colder again. Winds will start to switch around to a north-northeast direction, and as pressure falls, we'll probably start to generate some showers as well. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. So again, we're in that area of high pressure on Friday. Will be pleasant enough by day, but could be quite cold by night. So that carries on into the weekend as well. And gradually we should start to lift the temperature up, I think, over weekend as we begin to pull the wind up from, or the air begins to pull up via the wind from sort of France and that kind of area. However, early next week, again, look at this, high pressure is retrogressing up to Greenland. High pressure moving northwards and westwards, going against zonal flow. So by Tuesday next week, there it is, high pressure centering itself over Iceland and Greenland again, and pressures are falling across northern and western parts of Europe. It's quite a deep area of low pressure across southern Europe. That brings heavy rain through Spain and much of the Med. This is classic sort of negative AO type condition. So quite a bit of heavy rain across southern Europe. We probably won't be that wet, but as pressures fall, we probably will start to generate showers, and we begin to pull in colder winds from the north and the northeast again. So by the middle of next week, we're back to where we've been so many times over the past few weeks. We've got a 1,045 to, I think, almost 1,050 millibar area of high pressure over Greenland. We're pulling in the wind from the north to the northeast again, so obviously it's a lot colder. And there is a shallow trough within the 500 millibar flow that could be generating, at the very least, showers, if not longer spells of rain. Into a proper northerly there, as we get to day 9, which is 29th of April. Proper northerly winds via northern blocking and trough low pressure over Scandinavia, and keeping things cold with those northerly winds into the last day of April as well. We're going to end what will be a colder than average April on a pretty cold note. And that carries us through into the beginning of May as well. So this is May Day, Saturday the 1st of May, just beyond day 10. And again, we're looking pretty cold and potentially quite unsettled here as well as we go into the bank holiday weekend. A more extended range going further on into the first week of May. We do start to get some higher pressure beginning to build across western parts of Europe. That begins to move towards the east, and we start to pull the wind back in from an easterly direction then. So that will hopefully start to lift up the temperature as we go through the first week of May. Probably not all that warm, but it will be like milder or less cold than those northerlies that we have to close out April. So temperatures may start to recover a bit as we go into further on through the first week of May. And what we will notice, I think, is that it'll turn drier again as well. That's a midnight GFS. This is the 6Z, very latest. So again, we've got the high pressure centering over the top of the country on Friday into the weekend. That high pressure sticks around, and it'll probably start to turn somewhat warmer as well over the weekend. But into the open next week, again, GFS 6Z is at this too, taking the high pressure up to Greenland, up to 1,050 millibars, again, over Greenland with that area of high pressure. So it's a proper, genuine blocking feature that's setting up again over Greenland. Trough of low pressure is beginning to move in towards northern parts of Scotland, and that just sinks southwards through Tuesday and into Wednesday next week. So clearly turning much colder again next week. That's comparative, of course. It won't be as cold as it would be sort of in January, but it will be colder than average. And probably cold enough again for a return of wintry showers, actually, to northern and eastern parts of Scotland anyway. So snow is possible here across northern and eastern Scotland. And probably more notably serious is like the risk of further significant overnight frost. There is an area of low pressure that's a little bit deeper as well with this GFS 6Z run around the middle of next week, that might bring more persistent spells of rain to southern and eastern parts of the country. Much needed, I hasten to add, but will be potentially quite cold and wet through the middle part of next week. There's the upper air temperature showing at -5 Celsius isotherm is digging in again to the northern half of the country. This is day 9, Thursday 29th of April. Cold with those northeasterly winds continuing. Down comes -5 Celsius isotherm. Quite unusual to get -5 Celsius isotherm. That's far south at the end of April. That's how we get to day 10. Generally quite cold and, rather unsettled as well. Certainly at very least showers, probably longer spells of rain, and probably cold enough for snow to fall to relatively low levels across northern parts of Scotland once again. Into the bank holiday weekend, we start to draw up something a little bit warmer from the south, so we begin to lose those cold northerlies, begin to switch the wind around to the south a little bit as pressures start to rise to our east, with low pressure in the Atlantic. That starts to pull wind back up from France. After that sort of sharp shock of northerly winds for the end of April, the beginning of May starts to pull something milder, or certainly less cold from the south and the southwest. That could be quite nice. A bank holiday Monday, so low pressure out to the northwest could bring some rain there, but for England and Wales, it could be relatively warm and relatively dry as well. At the very end of this GFS run, look at this, high pressure pulls out to our west again, and back come those northwesterly winds. We just can't quite get rid of them for any length of time, can we? This is how the GM is looking. So once more, high pressure is in control of the weather at the end of the week and into the weekend as well. That high pressure sticks around as the wind begins to shift more towards the southerly direction. Weekend probably does turn a little bit warmer. But early next week, high pressure sends itself back up to Greenland and Iceland. Trough of low pressure sinks down through the northwest of Europe. It turns more unsettled and it turns colder on the GM as well, with winds back in from a north to northeast direction. All models are turning things colder yet again next week, and for the end of April, or the last day of April, the GM is looking rather cold and rather unsettled. And the ECM rounds it all off. So high pressure again in control of weather on Friday and through the weekend. That high pressure is over the country, and as the wind pulls into more of an east-southeasterly, temperatures will probably start to lift up over the weekend. Into next week, yes, same idea, the high pressure moving northwards and westwards, pressure's falling across the north and west of Europe, so it begins to turn more showery and starts to turn colder for the closing days of April as winds turn into the north and northeast. Maybe not quite as much of a northerly with today's ECM compared to the other models, so I don't think this is quite as cold with those north to northeast winds. But again, it's all variations of the theme. The basic idea is after a slightly warmer weekend and mostly dry weekend, the high pressure moves away to the north and the west. How far north the high pressure goes, remains to be seen, but the high pressure moves to the north and west, so pressures fall across the north and west of Europe. It turns more unsettled, turns showery, and at the very least it turns cooler, if not colder. That's how we look with the ECM as we get to day 10. Again, we've got this area of low pressure over southern parts of the UK, which could bring a bit of a drenching, a bit of a soaking for the south, and just generally quite cool and unsettled. This is the precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run. So again, we're going to have lots of dry weather over the coming few days into the weekend as well, and into the early part of next week. Mostly dry, but later next week begins to turn more showery as those pressures fall, start to turn more unsettled as well. We begin to get some quite wet weather going by day 10 in the south and the southwest. This is the option that's on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which gets us to the 30th of April. 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure across northern and western Europe. It is combined with a blocking area of high pressure to the north and the northwest around Greenland and in the North Atlantic. So cooler, definitely, probably colder, you would say, by the end of April, and also unsettled as well. It seems a clear trend across all models and most ensembles suites. And in 2 weeks' time, this yacht chart we've got gets us to the 5th of May. 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles just looking rather unsettled and cool, with low pressure covering much of northern and Western Europe. Probably not quite as cold, not much of a northerly influence, but it is unsettled, and I suspect we're on the cool side of a jet stream with that as well. So that looks pretty poor, doesn't it? For like further on into the first week of May. So it's been a pretty grim update, hasn't it, so far, for anybody who wants to stay in warm, dry weather. Let's see if the CFS offers anything before we go to those that want warmer and drier conditions. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from 20th, 26th of April. The coming week is taking that high pressure away to the north and west. It's dropping low pressure into northern Europe, and so between the two, back come those northerly winds eventually. Also got quite a deep area of low pressure towards Spain that will bring a bit of a soaking to southwestern parts of Europe, Iberia, could get some quite wet weather in next week, which is relatively unusual given that we are now going into the Mediterranean summer. Week 2 looks pretty grim as well. This is 27th of April to the 3rd of May. High pressure blocking through the North Atlantic, going up to Greenland as it has so often over the past few weeks and months. Low pressure across northwestern Europe. In come those cold north to northeast winds. So we end April on an unsettled and cold note. And probably for the opening days of May too. However, this looks a lot better if you want warmer, drier weather. This is the 4th through to the 10th of May. It's week 3. Look at this. A high pressure then comes back across Western Europe. Low pressure out in the middle of the Atlantic. And this will start to pull wind up from the southwesterly direction. That should turn a lot drier. And it should be a lot warmer as well. And then we go through to week 4, and this looks pretty good too. The 11th to the 17th of May. High pressure then is centering just to our east, and this low pressure is up towards Greenland, so we've lost all the blocking. We've sent the jet stream low pressure back to Greenland, and this would of course then start to pull up the wind probably from a southerly direction, so from like winter type conditions at the end of April to summer perhaps by the middle of May, and that perhaps gives us our first spell of genuine heat. If it came off, I think you'd be looking at temperatures at least into the mid-20s Celsius, with that possibly knocking on the door of 80 Fahrenheit. But of course, it's 4 weeks away. It's a very long way off. And before that, we've got more cold weather to go, more night frost, and for northern Scotland, probably even a little bit more snow. Right, so if you enjoyed this video, then please can you click the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. You'll be able to see future weather content if you do that. Tell your friends and family, everybody else who subscribe. Thank you so much. If everybody who subscribes brings a friend, we're going to be able to get to our target of 11k subscribers so much quicker. We've got to put on now around another 150 to get to 11k. So we're gradually grinding our way to 11k. And drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Are you fed up with these throwbacks to northerly winds, or are you quite enjoying it? Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, that's it for today's videos then. So I think that's us done for today. Tomorrow we're going to have a USA forecast, have a 10 to 14 dayer for you, of course, tomorrow. And I think we've got another bank holiday weekend update penciled in for tomorrow too. But for this one, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.